Hi, good evening. Welcome to the Jon Gaunt Show. Starmer in crisis. I'm basically saying that every day at the moment, but he certainly is with Mandelson. He eventually did what I told him to do and sacked him today. But today isn't about Mandelson. It's much more about Starmer. I say, do you trust him? And I'm going to be straight with you. I don't. I say he must resign. How many more people must resign before Starmer says the book stops with me? Do you agree with me? It's also came out today that he knew he was warned by the Secret Services and by Lord Glasman and by other parliamentary candidates, colleagues, not to give Mandelson this job. He ignored them all and gave him the job. Now, look at what's happened. It came out yesterday. Starmer actually backed him, even though he knew more stuff was coming out. And of course, Mandelson knew what it was going to be. It was going to be the lines about, I'm your best friend. He's the paedophile's best friend, not Starmer, Mandelson. But not Starmer, Mandelson. You've got to be careful here. I say he must resign. Are you with me or against me? Do you trust your Prime Minister? I'm also going to talk about Charlie Kirk. I could not believe what I was witnessing last night. And I actually watched the shooting itself on the internet. Don't bother. It's horrendous. You don't need to see it. What you do need to know is that he got shot. And those of you who don't know who Charlie Kirk is, I don't think he was a far-right extremist. He was basically a man who believed in traditional American values. And for that, he got killed. And it's now coming out that it looks like he got murdered, assassinated by a trans activist and a lefty, right? Because the bullets had some sort of inscriptions on them. This is horrendous. And I've been saying this for quite some time. Isn't it funny how the be kind yobs mob are actually right nasty bastards, aren't they? I'm not saying there hasn't been violence on the right. There has. We can, of course, remember Joe Cox, etc., etc. But there seems to be extreme violence on the far left. But the far left is never mentioned. All that's ever mentioned is the far right, including Starmer, resign, including Starmer, when he said after Southport, everybody who protested, all those grieving mums, were far-right thugs. I don't know about you. I've had enough of it. I'm a traditionalist. I believe in marriage and all those things. I'm actually not that bothered about trans, if you want my opinion, but I don't want them to control the agenda. That doesn't make me far-right. Just makes me right. Traditional. Have kids, get married, have kids, bring them up properly, make sure they go to school, etc., etc. What's wrong with that? Charlie Kirk got murdered last night for having those views. He did have some other views which aren't, I don't necessarily agree with. But that should not be why we end up with people getting murdered. But let me tell you why this happens. It's because of the failure of Keir, resign now, Starmer, and people like him. Trust has gone completely in mainstream politicians. Do you agree with me? And really, the Mandelson affair is just another prime example of that. He knew. He was told by the spooks. He was told by some people in Trump's administration, don't use Mandelson. He knew that Epstein was a pedo. He was already convicted. The man has no judgment. He has no judgment, no political nous. I went through the list of people last night that he's lost already. Some people then got in touch with me and said, Gaunty, you missed out people, like the woman who's at the moment having to defend herself back at her auntie's house for corruption over there. And there was another one who I couldn't remember. But there was Louise Haig, the phone fraud. Yes, there's been loads of them. And he's made all of them resign. But the question now is, why doesn't he resign? Why doesn't he just slink off back under that stone? And it was exposed yesterday, of course, by GB News, that he actually wrote the book to how to fiddle, in effect, the Human Rights Act. This man is not fit to be Prime Minister. He wasn't fit to be it even before all these scandals. He's certainly not now. And if you want to know why the left and the right are so fractured, it's because of the lies, the cheating, and the downright bullshit of mainstream politicians like Keir Starmer. So Keir Starmer is in crisis tonight. The Peter Mandelson, Jeffrey Epstein scandal has absolutely exploded. I think that Starmer will go as a result of this. Not today, but the pressure is now building so incredibly high. And the fact that he now is in hiding effect, yeah? How many more cabinet ministers must he lose or dismiss? He's an incompetent. He has no political nous. If you agree with me, please put a comment at the bottom. If you disagree, same idea. Let's have this discussion. The security services warned him twice. Lord Glasman, he warned him too. He said, look, I've been in Washington. I know what's going on. This is a bad idea. And surely he knew that Mandelson had been dismissed from government twice before in the Blair Brown years. Didn't seem to matter. He just wanted his chum. Of course, the paedophile's chum in position. I just heard a bit on GB News where somebody said, oh, we must be careful what we say about Mandelson. I can assure you, you don't need to be that careful because he ain't going to be suing anybody, is he? He's finished. He's completely finished. Even people inside Labour warned Starmer. He's so arrogant, this man. Did you know I used to be the director of public prosecutions? Jimmy Savile never came across my desk. Him, he's so arrogant, he listens to no one. And that would be fine if he was brilliant at his job. But he's not. He's absolutely crap at his job. He is crap. He ignored everyone. So tonight, I'm asking the questions that every voter in Britain deserves an answer to. Listen to this. When did Starmer know? What did he know? And why did he let Mandelson anywhere near power? And I'm telling you, that's a really important position, being the ambassador in Washington. He had a great woman doing the job. We didn't need to change. He had people like, what's his name? The little bald fella used to be in charge of the Conservative Party, William Hague. He wanted the gig. But Mandelson's now been sacked. He hasn't resigned. He was sacked. And the scandal is growing by the hour. More and more revelations are coming out because the Secret Services, the vetting people, are saying, hang on, we're not taking the bullet for this. No way, Jose. We told him not to do it. He ignored it. So he must resign. Do you agree or do you disagree? And I say it does tie into the Charlie Kirk atrocity last night. Because of us not being able to trust our mainstream politicians, people are going to the extremes or are going to people who speak the truth or at least their truth. Starmer is largely responsible for this. And as a side issue, I want to talk about the fact, why do they always talk about the far right when there's clearly a problem with the far left? Look at the Palestinian demonstrations. The bullet that went through Charlie Kirk's neck and killed him, according to Washington, had inscriptions on it talking about the trans issues. You can't make this up. This is a political assassination. And you know what they say, what happens in America happens here next. Well, in a way, we've already had it, haven't we? With Joe Cox, for example. Amos, the politician who got done in his surgery. We don't want this in Britain. So therefore, we need to have politicians who will be honest with us and tell the truth, not just get gigs for their chums, for their friends. That's not what being a prime minister is. And being a prime minister is having the balls to sometimes say things that are not very pleasant, that might make you unpopular for a while. And you have to have political nous. I say Keir Starmer hasn't got that. I say Keir Starmer must resign. Are you agreeing with me? Put a comment up now for me, please, and we'll come to them in a moment. Let's start with Lord Glasman. His behaviour over the so-called Chagos Island deal is nothing short of treacherous as well. I trust him to do nothing but harm the UK. It's interesting you bring up the Chagos because, again, that's another story we haven't been told the whole truth about, have we? We just haven't been told the truth. I just want to put a little note up. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe, and then you'll get more great comment. Just subscribe to my Facebook page, or indeed to my YouTube page, which is Jon Gaunt TV. Doesn't cost you any money. Just do it. James Goggle says, do we FUCK trust him? And I think the answer is no, because of all the question marks he's put there. Gary Reid just says no, which I presume you're answering my question. Do you trust him? See, I can't see Starmer coming back from this. Starmer's going. And then that brings the next dilemma. Who's going to take over his gig? He's lost Angela Rayner. Surely not Lammy. And I'll tell you what the nightmare scenario is. Sadiq Khan or Ed Miliband. They've got nobody. They've got nobody to come in. Lord Glasman is just saying that as well on YouTube. I can't imagine who would replace him. The entire Labour Party seem useless. I think you're being a bit too nice there. Useless is not a strong enough word. Or you should put the F word before it. They are useless. You're right. But then look at the Conservatives. We've got to give some credit, of course, to Kemi, because she really hammered Starmer in Prime Minister's questions yesterday. I was thinking, that was earlier in the week. This week's been incredible for news, hasn't it? But it isn't. It was just yesterday. And just yesterday, he backed him. Well, he must have been getting advice saying, don't back him now. Sack him today. But he can't, because what Starmer does, he dithers and he dallies. He's a typical lawyer. On the one hand, there's this. On the other hand, there's that. He's not a leader. He'll never be a leader whilst I've got a hole in my arse. Do you agree? Where are we going next? Starmer will blame everyone except himself. He is delusional, Gaunty. He cannot live in the real world. It's sad. It's sad. He just isn't here in the real world. I think I agree with you. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Mark Roberts on Facebook. He says, Charlie was a true American hero. May he rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers to his family. That's true. I wasn't going to talk. I was going to do a whole thing on Charlie today. Then I thought, no, I won't. And then just before I started, I thought, well, hang on, there's a real connection here. Why are people looking towards people like Charlie? Well, because he's genuine. And he says, this is what I feel. You know where you stand with him, whether you like him or not. And what's gone wrong in politics around the globe is that people feel now that all of their ideas have to come out of one file or one cabinet drawer in a filing cabinet, to use an old analogy I used to use a lot. Well, life's more complicated than that. So you can hear something that George Galloway says and think, well, actually, I quite agree with that. I mean, I put a short up today. I don't know if you've seen it yet, talking about, it was part of my bigger program, but I made it into a short, or AI, my mate did, talking about, what's his name? You know, the street artist. Him. Anyway, the posh lad who doesn't tell you what he's called. What's wrong with my memory? Can't remember him. Anyway, him, Banksy. Saying that I thought it was a disgrace that they were taking down his great piece of art. Have a listen to it if you get it. It's only 2 minutes long. You'll find it on Jon Gaunt's YouTube. And that's what I think. Now, so I'm in favour of that, but I'm against other things that you think, because you might think, oh, that's a bit of a liberal view. There's nothing wrong with having some liberal views, just like there's nothing wrong if you're a liberal having some more right-wing views. We need more of that. But we need leadership from our established politicians, and what we haven't got is any leadership. Starmer's just a prime example of it. Starmer must resign. 17 likes. That's really good. Let's see if we can get more. I think everyone who follows politics knew this Mandelson business would end in tears. I think you're probably right, Ronnie Hurst on Facebook. I tell you what, though, Ronnie, it hasn't ended yet. There's so much more to come out. He is finished. If I was him, I'd resign now because it's only going to get worse because he's on the ropes. When I worked for The Sun, the thing we were taught basically was if you get somebody on the ropes, keep punching them until they're on the floor, metaphorically speaking. It's not nice, it's not pleasant, but usually they deserve it because they've done something wrong. Well, I'm telling you, Keir Starmer has betrayed this country. We could talk about the Chagos. We could talk about illegal immigration at Dover. He's done sweet FA about it. He'll be quite relieved at the moment because no one's really reporting on it because he has cocked all this up. Look at the way he basically attacked pensioners. Look at the way he's attacking farmers, students. This man is a traitor. Not only that, he's an effing useless traitor. He doesn't know how to hide what he's doing. He's just useless. I'm also almost at the point of feeling sorry for him. But then I think again, no, not yet. He's on the ropes. Keep punching. Metaphorically speaking. It says more than I care to know about our PM that he has full confidence in someone who believes that pedophiles, I like that, pedophiles, should be released early. Truly awful. Yeah, well said for making that point. Because it wasn't just that he was sending chummy letters to Epstein. He actually said to Epstein, this sentence is wrong. And he was purposely working to try and get the sentence or reduced for a paedophile found guilty in a court of law. Now, I know there's a lot wrong with the American justice system, but this guy was a pedo. I don't know whether he killed himself or he got murdered or whatever in prison. I don't know. But what I do know is he was a filthy, disgusting pedo. And I do now really question that line from Mandelson when he said, yum, yum, thank you for my presence. What was all that about? Yum, yum. Why would you say yum, yum? Maybe he was eating something, swallowing something. I don't know. Do you? No. We need Starmer to call a general election before he resigns. No, let him resign and let's see who they put in his place. They're not going to last. But Starmer has to go. Nigel, are you getting ready? Do you see this connection between Kirk? Sorry, I shouldn't call him Kirk. Charlie Kirk and Starmer and established politicians? Because I can see it. And I think it's an interesting connection. What do you think? Have you lost trust in all the politicians? Graham Hatton says, I was very sad last night, John, with the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk. And then today we get that duplicitous git Starmer banging on about different views should be tolerated and heard. Mate, I am livid. The lying swine. I'm glad you brought that up, Graham. That's absolutely true. He's put out like a statement making out that he's so sad about Charlie Kirk, which he probably is. But this is the man who lied to the president of the free world, to Donald Trump, and said, oh, yeah, when Bev Turner put him on the spot up at the golf course, oh, yeah, we've had free speech for a long time. It was complete and utter bullshit. Trump has seen through that. Trump knows about Lucy Connolly. He knows about the genius creator of Father Ted, Graham Linehan, and that he's had his free speech curtailed. 5 police officers picked him up off a plane when he landed back in Blighty, even though he wrote the 3 tweets that were meant to be so offensive when he was in the States. And he's an Irish citizen, not British. But Starmer's stormtroopers go in there and arrest him. The guy basically has a panic attack, blood pressure through the roof. He's not a well man. It's a disgrace. But Trump knows this. Now, in 4 days' time, Donald Trump will be in England on his second royal reception trip, whatever. What? There's going to be fireworks, isn't there? It's going to go bonkers. J.D. Vance gave him a bit of it earlier in the year. Well, it's going to get even more because we are closing down free speech. We are. You can't. People for ages have been saying, oh, I like you, Gaunty, because you say it like it is. I'm telling you, even I think now more and self-censor. We all do it. The worst form of censorship in the world is self-censorship. when you're thinking, no, I better not. No, I won't say that. Oh, no, I won't say that. Because it doesn't go away. And if it's something really horrid, people go home to their lounges, go to their pubs and very quietly talk about it. And then what you get is left and right violence. It's the failure of mainstream politicians to engage on the policies that we're interested in. Let's just take one example. The migrant hotels. They did that without asking anyone, even the local councils. They just put people there. The same with homes of multiple occupation. Starmer didn't give a shit. Nor did Rishi, nor did Boris, because it's not next door to them. And so then ordinary people think, politics not worth it. I've got a really good mate of mine. He was really into politics. And he said, no, I don't bother anymore, John. It's not worth getting my blood pressure up. I just can't be bothered. I went through a period when I felt like that as well. But I'm trying to fight back now. Why do you think millions of people are going to march on Saturday? And that brings up something else. And I don't even know if I should say this. Are you worried about Saturday? I was concerned that if there is violence, it will mostly come from Antifa, but maybe that's me being prejudiced. Although they've got a track record, haven't they, recently in the migrant hotels, etc. They kicked off. It wasn't the mums, even though they were called far right. And then the press and Starmer and the political class realised they couldn't keep saying that because it was false. And it was patently false because loads of people had taken mobile phones and had taken shots of what was going on. But I'm concerned there could be people planted in that audience. What do they call it? Agent provocateurs who could start the trouble. I think Tommy Robinson is concerned about this. Tommy Robinson is saying to everyone, be calm. Don't let them wind you up. Dear God, I hope not. And then when I saw the murder last night, I was up most of the night watching it. And then I thought, how close are we here in Britain to that happening? And then I remembered Saturday. And I didn't know whether to bring it up today because it's almost like tempting fate. But that worries me. And you shouldn't be worried. If you want to go on a protest, it's your democratic right in a free society, just like it's your democratic right to withdraw your labour. I would never be against those things. But are you concerned? I'd be interested to know, especially if you're brave enough to talk about it, to say, well, I'm not going now, John, because I had exactly the same thought as you last night. Tell me what you think. I'm coming back to your comments now. Jude Tech on YouTube says they're all in the same club. You're right. They're all in the same chummy club. Starmer's judgment is wrong on all counts, says Jackie Ward on Facebook. He can't get anything right. And to think this man is in charge of a country, not a country, Jackie, the greatest country in the world. He's in charge of the UK. We won 2 world wars. We defeated Hitler. Nobody landed on our beaches then. Now we're being defeated by a load of illegal criminals in flip-flops. It's a fucking farce, Jackie. That's what it is. What's worse? It's my country, says Jackie. It's time you went. And then she's got the Union Jack and the flag of St. George. If you're enjoying the show, press the like button, please. And if you'd like to donate some cash to keep these going, and I'm telling you, the clampdown, as the Clash would call it, is coming now. Somebody sent me the lyrics to that song the other day, and it's exactly, I think it was the clampdown, or was it London's Burning? One of them. And it was just like, as if, I know they were lefties, but they were predicting what's going on. Left and right doesn't really exist, in my opinion, anymore. But anyway, if you'd like to donate to keep these podcasts going, because let's face it, the mainstream media aren't really reporting it in the way I am. They don't talk about it like I do. They don't make these connections. So if you think there's a value to that, whether it's a fiver or a few quid, whatever it is, press the little dollar sign at the bottom of this video and send me a donation now via YouTube. Go on, you can afford it. A fiver, 2 quid, 10 quid, I don't know. Or alternatively, you can buy me a coffee. You go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. You then can choose it to be a beer if you want. It's metaphorical. It's not real, right? And that starts at a fiver a shot. So if you could help me out, it'd be great, because I'm trying to do more and more podcasts. But obviously, I've got to live. I've got to exist. So some people call it begging. I don't. I call it being an entrepreneur, funding my work. And I think my work's pretty good. And I think that's pretty evidenced by the numbers of people who are watching. I told you the other day, we've had over 800,000 views of my work since I started. It now looks like, well, I think I looked at it earlier today. It was 835, 840. We're going to hit 1 million in the next week or so. Why don't you be one of the people who can say, I helped Gaunty. I bunged him a $5. Come on, you can do it now. Click that $sign or buy me a coffee. Please, let's get this going. The people's revolution, so to speak. That sounds good, doesn't it? Ronnie Hurst, I agree Starmer should go, but can you imagine if Lammy took over? That is dangerous. Well, let's go through the runners and riders. Lammy, Angela Rayner. Who else is there now? Ed Miliband. Sadiq Khan, but he's not an MP, but I'm sure they would arrange that if it was necessary. Who else? Who else is there? Andy Burnham. He's definitely positioned himself. One of those women. What about the Chancellor, Rachel Thieves? They've got no one. We are up the creek without a bloody paddle. We haven't even got a canoe. He needs to go along with the rest of them. He knew all right. I'm just waiting for the rest to be found out. Well, that's right, Val, on Facebook. And what's going to happen now, Val? Let me just tell you. They're going to demand for him to answer those questions. When did you know? What did you know? How did you react to it? Why did you decide to keep backing him? Not only why did you decide to keep backing him, why were you still backing him yesterday when it was clear he was bang to rights guilty? Bang to rights. My best mate. Have you seen the picture of him? Mate nearly made me physically sick. Having breakfast with Epstein, and he's wearing a fluffy white dressing gown. Then there's a picture of him at the window with just a pair of boxer shorts or swimming trunks on. He's horrible. He makes my skin crawl. And what was he referring to when he said yum yum? I hope it isn't what I've imagined. I really hope. Don't mention it. I really hope it's not that. It'll come out. Hi, John. I haven't trusted Starmer since he became our Prime Minister. I totally agree with you also about the left. Oh, thank you for saying that, Craig. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. Anybody agree with me? You know, the lefties, they keep going on about be kind, don't they? Be kind. Yeah. But they're the nastiest bastards going. They're the ones on Twitter and on Facebook who say the horrid things. Yes, there's some far right people who come out with absolute garbage and racism. I condemn them. But also these people, and then you look at their profiles and they're teachers or retired teachers. I used to be on the telly with him quite a bit. You've seen another bald bloke, Irish, but he lives in London. Donnock, somebody his name is. He's a cyclist. He's one of the lycra-clad cycle fascists. He made some comment the other day about how Starmer had done well, and I've just put him down. So then he's straight to the personal attack, basically saying, have you ever thought about going to anger management lessons? I said, have you ever thought about going to a hair transplant clinic? Right? He didn't like that, but he's bald, right? But I thought, if you want to be personal, I'll be personal. But he's the kind of guy. And I said to him, well, that's not being very kind. He said, well, I was, because I was giving you advice. They have this supercilious, superior attitude to you, don't they? They make me sick with their degrees from polytechnics in design technology, or whatever they're in. I don't care what they're in. But these people, they make me sick. As Kevin Rowland used to say, these people with their home bars and Wi-Fi, hi-fis, do you know these people? And these other guy goes, yeah, I know these people. I don't. Let me just make it clear on this point. I don't like these people. And then he goes into this song. That's on Don't Stand Me Down, I think. Anyway, rest in peace, Charlie, and condolences to the Kirk family. Glynis Jones says, definitely. So I've been asking this question. Do you think the left, and they never get slagged off, the far left, do they? Even when it's clear that it's Antifa who have caused the trouble or whatever protest it is. Get a general election first. It's not as easy as that, James. Not as easy as that. Charlie Burton says, howdy, John. Howdy, folks. I think he's the guy who's in America. No one's donated. I'm working my socks off. I've got I didn't have a shave, as you can tell. And do you ever get, like, lads, a whisker just going up your nose there? and it looks like you've been snorting coke because you can't stop itching it. I hate it. I shall sort it out straight after the show. What's that say? The question marks were just to be nice. What on earth are you on about? Hi, John. I think the question is, what government job will Mandelson get next? This is Niven Casey. He writes to me a lot, this guy. He makes some very good points. He's like, oh, and of course, Niven, you contributed today. Thank you very much indeed. He's like a bad case of herpes, not Niven. This is what he's saying about Mandelson. You think he's gone, and then he pops up again. You're absolutely right. He won't disappear. He probably can't lift the stone up on his own to get back under it. He should never have been employed. If the see, this is the thing now. The pressure now that we have to, in a way, kind of forget about Mandelson, and we have to talk about Starmer. Is he fit to be the Prime Minister? That's why I'm asking you. Do you trust him? It looks like no, but is the answer. But let's keep talking about it. Starmer or another on the front bench. It's being asked if you'd like to be punched or kicked in the face. Musical Man says, you're right. I can't think one of them. Andy Burnham, but he talks a good game, but then again, although they quite like him in Manchester, don't they? Johnny Roberts, I don't think Starmer will be removed. His MPs know the leader position has become a poison chalice. I don't think he'll be removed, Johnny. I just think with the pressure that's coming on and the amount of mistakes he's made, because don't forget, we're going to hit that iceberg in a moment of where we're going to need the International Monetary Fund to bail us out of bankruptcy. That hasn't gone away. That's still there. You got Trump coming next week who's going to lay into him about freedom of speech, freedom of expression. What else have we got? There's everything coming up. Prisons are full, so they'll release a load more people. The boats, they're not stopping. They're still coming. He won't rip up the Human Rights Act because Lord Hermer is best. He's another one of his chums. They won't rip that up. They think it's magic. They think, oh, it's magic, R. Morris. Selwyn Froggatt. They think the Human Rights Act is brilliant. And they think that all of us are barbarians for not understanding that. We're all barbarians and savages because we don't understand that's good. I just think I'm true blood Englishman. I don't want people who have just arrived in my country in their flip-flops getting out of a dinghy to have more rights than me. But of course, Yvette Cooper and Starmer did. They believe the rights of illegal immigrants trump ours. And I'm fed up with this thing. I was talking to an old mate of mine. I won't mention his name because he's fallen on hard times. And he was telling me about his benefits and his housing benefits today on the phone. And he said, it leaves me with about 50 odd quid. No, 90 quid a week, I think he said. And then he said, then I think about these. He used a word. And he said, they get on my nerves. He says, they keep going on about only getting 50 quid a week. Well, it ain't 50 quid a week, he said, because they get all their housing paid for. If they're in a hotel, they get obviously that. But if they're in a house for multiple occupation, they get the 50 quid. But did you know the council tax is paid? And they do, as Ryland said, get free NHS straight away. They haven't paid a penny in. Dentistry, wigs, help to get, no, they're not into work because they're not allowed to work, but they don't need to. They get a free bike of somebody who's working in a way for Uber, not Uber, what do you call it? Deliveroo, one of those companies. Have they been fined for employing illegals? No. Oh, there's a surprise. I wonder why that is. Hula hoop. Sunak handed power over to Starmer on a plate because he couldn't take any more. Well, yeah, it makes all that standing in the rain now sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Even Biden ignored him and he didn't know where he was. That's a brilliant line. Well done. Thank you very much, Hula Hoop. Kimberly Paul, the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. What a very good point. George Orwell, that quote's from. Which one's that one from? Let me know. But I do like your point. And I think that's like Charlie. They couldn't defeat Charlie Kirk in argument, so they killed him. That sounds a bit simplistic, but it's kind of true, isn't it? I look back at some of his stuff. He's not like me. I'm an argumentative tosspot at times, but he would give way if he thought the other person said something good. Didn't happen often. And so that's why, but they couldn't beat him. And he went to all the top universities in the world, including the Oxford Union. And he won debates. He wanted to spread the word about freedom of speech, democracy, history, tradition, culture. He wanted to protect his culture. But you see, he wasn't allowed to. Whereas you can come from another place and everybody helps you defend your culture rather than saying fit in or ship out. I don't know. Is that fair? Anybody want to donate tonight, or do I need to stand up and show you that I'm doing it in my shorts? I don't know. No, I do not agree. You do not agree with what? Starmer has been humiliating the British people all year, so resigning is too soft. This is treason, says Steve's Music Johnson. Thank you, Steve. I was worried about you for a moment. Mandelson committed mortgage fraud. Yes, he did, and was made a lord. Tommy Robinson pleaded guilty to more mortgage fraud and got jailed. Two-tier justice bullshit, says Tony Com 1. Thank you. Craig Urquhart. I like your play on words with the names in Rachel Thieves, etc. How about Pete Mandelson? Craig, stop it. But it was very good indeed. James Goggles says he was murdered. He's talking about, what's his name? Epstein. Do you know what, James? I don't care whether he was murdered, topped himself, or whatever. I don't give a shit. He's a filthy paedophile, and that's one down, as far as I'm concerned. One down, millions to go. We could do with a few more people topping themselves. Whatever. People like Starmer always have a bank of people acting as human shields in order to hide behind or throw under the bus, John. He will have to be dragged out of number 10. Well, if they want volunteers, I'll be there. What about you, Paul Rowbottom? Niven again. I also think that Mandelson knows where the metaphorical bodies are buried. I'm sure he does. He seems to have a hold over the Labour Party. That's a very good point indeed. Trump was so funny with Starmer when he asked Starmer about free speech. Yeah, he was definitely trolling him, wasn't he? He was stitching him up, and he did it like a kipper. What's going to happen though in 4 days' time? What's going to happen? He's coming to meet the king. It's the king's invitation. But Starmer, do you remember Starmer? Even that he lied about. He pulled out the letter from the king when the king had told him to give it to Trump privately. Starmer used it like his bloody Trump card. He thought he was on that Bruce Forsyth show. You know, what was that called? You know the one where they turned over the card. Anyway, forget it. Graham Linehan is thinking of applying for asylum in the UK. Just think about that if you think the UK has free speech. Thank you very much indeed. I can't wait for Donald to give his speech when he meets Charles, says Roddy Hurst. No, J.D. Vance at the moment will be drafting it, I'm sure. John, I think the Starmer should resign before he pushed. I just want him to go. Lord DeBrick says you can't trust a lefty. Well, I've got some friends who are very left-wing, and I like them. We laugh and joke about politics. Sometimes we have serious debates, but we can laugh and joke about it. We don't then tend to go and shoot each other. But people have been let down by the mainstream politicians. That's why you get extremes. It's like when Starmer left that vacuum of information about Rudy Coban, or whatever his name was, in Southport. That was then filled by the real extremists on both sides. And I noticed actually today the lefties have been fairly quiet. Although, did you see the ones? I'll tell you, I need to kick the telly in last night. Did you see the people in America who said, "Oh, I'm glad he's dead"? How could you say that? A man who's got two little kids, two beautiful little toddlers, and he's just been blown away for giving a speech at a university campus. Think about all the implications of that. And these people saying, "Good, he was horrible. He was a fascist." Even if he was a fascist, which I don't think he was, of course I don't. How can you talk with no humanity? And it's not just one person, it was several people. And then you got the EU. Did you see that today? Some of the EU refused the minute's silence. And the Democrats, they refused yesterday to pay respect to him. A man, 31 years old, has just been assassinated in the home of freedom and democracy, and these people couldn't give him 2 minutes. Charlie Kirk said, if we don't have a debate, you get civil war. Well, Charlie Kirk, may well be right. I don't think we're very far away from it. This guy I was talking to about today, about mentioned him earlier, about his benefit situation. He's a really nice bloke. I'll get his permission and maybe I can tell you who it is. You know him, or you'll know of him. But he says he feels he's being pushed to the extremes because nobody's bloody listening to him. Where was it? Wigan. 500 homes or 400 and some homes of multiple occupation a few months ago. Now 900. Community consulted. Our survey says no. That's what's wrong with Britain. It all starts with the left, says Kimberly Paul. I think I'd probably agree. James Goggle, will you stop going on about we need Starmer to call a general election? It ain't going to happen. Denise Deacon, it's a sad day for free speech. I felt sick last night when the news broke about Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with everything he said, but like most sane people, I respected his right to say them. That's me, Denise. That's how I was. But it was bloody depressing, wasn't it? Bloody depressing. Musical Man, I just pray the demonstration on Saturday is peaceful. That's what I was bringing up earlier. It'll be so much more powerful. Voices carry further from the high ground. Absolutely right. Anthony just says, what a twat he is. It's hard to find an argument against that. Thank you for your comments. Niven's just told me, that was you who sent me the email. Guns of Brixton. Niven, just put the lyrics down and send it to me now, dead quick, because I want to read them out because I thought that was brilliant. It was the Guns of Brixton. Craig says, John, thank you for the common sense. I'm stopping in a minute, by the way. James Goggle, you've said too much and you're not going to get mentioned again. All right. So that's your lot tonight. So you may as well stop typing. You'll get repetitive strain syndrome the way you're going. Keir Starmer is a WEF puppet. To be has to be a no confidence vote, for God's sake. The damage he's doing is unforgivable. No, I can't read the last bit. It might be quite amusing, but no, I'm not reading that out. Stephen Proctor, I don't trust anyone who's in the Labour government and never have or never will. See, it's like lots of things. Blair did some good things, and he was Labour. Maggie Thatcher did some terrible things, and she was a Conservative. You've got to just be a bit more open-minded. George Galloway sometimes makes absolute sense to me. Jeremy Corbyn even has said things that I think, actually, I agree with that. Even the Green Party, I voted for the Green Party. Have you seen him? The actor who's now the boss of the Green Party. What an absolute wit he is. Spelled T-W-A-T. Him. Have you seen him? And he's like, come on, brothers. Right? And then he's got a mate who's into thinking that the massacre of the Israeli kids on the 7th was okay. I don't know. Lefties are the most dangerous when their sense of superiority is challenged. You're so right there, Lord Kabakan. I argue with them, and then sometimes I'll beat them because I've got a better political knowledge and maybe a better memory because I've been more experienced, been doing it for years. And you put them down and they don't like it at all. So then they're straight into you, you fat. Right? Then they're calling you a CNT, right? When I was left wing, I'd never use that word because kind of, if you believe in feminism, that's wrong, isn't it? I still don't really like you doing it. I use it sometimes and I shouldn't. Not in front of my wife. When you think nobody could have worse judgment than Starmer, consider the fact that he's married. Oof, that's a bit below the belt, but I still think it's good. Sandra, I wouldn't trust this twit. You don't spell twit with an A, it's with an I. If he was the last person on earth. Jackie says, I'm so looking forward to Trump visiting. Sparks will fly. Starmer must be dreading it. David Edgar, nobody trusts Keir Starmer, although he's got a different name for him, which you can read if you want. The Toolmaker's son. Thank you for that. I don't trust Starmer. He's just looking after himself, says Mabel UK, and she's on YouTube. Listen, I'm just trying to squeeze in all the comments before I finish. Great audience figures tonight. Thank you very much for that. But nobody's sending any money. It can't go on forever for nothing. I'm going to start a Blue Peter appeal soon and get you to send in bottle tops. We don't have bottles anymore. Charlie Kirk loved free speech. He was right when he said, if you stop talking, violence happens. You're absolutely right. Craig says, I totally agree with you about Epstein, Gaunty. Thank you. On Saturday, it'll be the far left that will cause problems, says Ronnie Hurst. And Niven Casey has sent me the words to Guns of Brixton by the Clash. When they kick at your front door, how are you going to come? With your hands on your head or on the trigger of a gun? Brilliant. What a great song that is. Oh, the Guns of Brixton. That was before the Clash became absolutely useless, wasn't it? It was the second or third album, but I liked it. Saturday, we don't want street fighting, man. We want tiptoe through the tulips, says Niven. We must not have any violence. I agree with you. Malfunction. I like your name. It's a good job Starmer married Mrs. Starmer. Only 2 people are unhappy instead of 4. No. Music Man. I've said many times before, you can't make homophobic jokes about people, especially if you don't know if they're homosexual or not. You shouldn't make them anyway, because it's kind of ridiculous and base. So I'm telling you off. Shut up. Here's another one. Sydney Snot, he's taken Kenny Everett's avatar. Peter Mandelson, WEF Agenda contributor, and Fabian, Lord Gaunt. Well, I don't know. I just know we're in a mess. And I just think there is a connection between the failure of mainstream politicians to look at our concerns. And I just hope and pray that Saturday goes okay. I wanted some people to comment on that. I haven't really had many of that, but that's okay. And I think, as I said earlier, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. And I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible for democracy around the globe. And if it does turn out, and at the moment, this is the Washington Post who is saying that the bullet had this inscription on. Let's just hope, in a way, that's true, because if it's not true, it's going to cause even more trouble. And those people, if there's any listening to me, which I doubt, please don't say horrible things about someone who's just passed on. I just think that's horrid. The people who've been saying, well, thank God he's dead, he was a fascist, he was this, he was it. It's just horrendous. Just horrendous. It's like when people said, ding dong, the witch is dead when Maggie Thatcher died. I just think that was the anniversary of her death, wasn't it? It's just horrid. What kind of person are you? People like you shouldn't be allowed to breed. You see, now that would be okay for them, the lefties, to say that about the right, but you're not really allowed to, criticize them because they're progressive. I don't think they are progressive. I think they're thick. I think they're stuck in Viz time with Militant back in the 70s, the late 70s. I don't think their politics has moved on from when they sold the socialist worker outside Woolies in Coventry City Precinct, and that's been closed 20 odd years. We've had to go and break our own biscuits. Right, I'm done. Thank you very much indeed for joining in tonight. Tomorrow I probably will do one. I don't normally do one on Friday, but I might do it early in the day because I've got a feeling there might be big developments overnight, both on the Charlie Kirk thing and also on Starmer. But remember now, the discussion now is about Starmer, not really about Mandelson. And let's not let this divert our attention away from everything else. Thank you. If you do donate today, you can do it by clicking that $sign or www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. There she is. She never lets me down. Jackie Ward sent me 3 red love hearts. Well, they're not love hearts, but appreciation hearts. Thank you very much indeed. I'll be back then maybe tomorrow, but definitely on Sunday I'll do a show because they seem to go down really well. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I do know what I'm doing Saturday. Yeah, I won't be doing one Saturday. I'll be a bit busy. All right, then. I'll speak to you later. Until we meet again. If you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, don't forget to tell them you love them. Thank you for supporting me. Let's get to 1 million views in the next few days. Thank you very much indeed. Have a good night.